told me that the thing you took away was choices, choosing well, but responsibility.
Responsibility.
Like, I'm responsible for, you haven't seen this yet, but we do it to, I put a hand on the hip, am responsible for me. And I teach that in assemblies. And I had kids come up and do it, teachers come up and do it. I had a girl at Columbia, she came up, man, her hips all over. She was like, but I want them to get that. I am responsible for me.
I think I saw that in one of your videos.
Yeah, it's in a lot of my videos.
Yeah.
And I think I love the fact that kids are starting to resonate with that because it's ownership. We live in such a use the word victim, a victimhood mentality in our world. So much from this color of your skin to your gender to whatever you identify as. Everybody's been a victim. I'm not saying people don't hurt you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I got to be responsible for myself.
Right.
I can't rely on anyone else to do for me what I can do for myself.
Yeah. And like the really reality, right, of that moment at 12 years ago, I basically realized I can be the hero of my story or I can be the victim of my story. Like that was really what I took out of it. Like, and then there was this desire, like, oh, I have this ability, this powerful ability to be a good person. And I can bring other people into that identity too.
Right.
And I can bring people and say, like, do you want to be a good person? And after that, I literally wanted to change the world. Like, I literally believed, like, okay, I could change the world now. I just didn't. And then I came into like the dreaming phase, and there's too much dreaming.
I agree with you. People and some motivational speakers come in. You can do anything you want. You can change the world. You can change your world.
Yeah.
And that is changing the world.
Yeah.
Because when you become a better person, and I think that should be the focus. I want to be the best person I can be. And I think there's a book called Atomic Habits. It's a really good book about making habits. And one thing you talk about is having identity habits. Things that your habits are based on who you want to be, your aspirational identity, who you want to be, and even who you are in some senses. And I remember one day my wife said, "You're a good man." And my tendency would be like, oh, no, I'm not. Because my tendency is to think about all the bad I've done that she doesn't know about.
Yeah.
My thought life, all stuff that I kind of focus on the negative.
Self-talk.
Right? Yeah, when we get compliments, we kind of deflect them sometimes, right?
Yeah.
No. But, when she said that you're a good man, I want to be what she sees as I am. I want to be a good man. And so I'm going to embrace that identity of being a good man.
Yeah.
And that's going to inform my choices for my wife and my kids, my community. I'm a good man. It's not that I'm better than anyone else.
Right. There's no pride. There's not like false pride in that.
No, I'm making choices to be a good man.
Yeah.
And will I fail at times? Yeah, but my identity is I want to be a good man.
Yeah.
And so I think that instead of being a victim and saying, it's about what happened to me, it's about what I'm choosing to do. And I think that's my personal responsibility.
And then you exuberate that identity and people are drawn to it and people want to see that like there's a better way. Because there are so many people who are living in that victimhood mentality and they've actually made that their hero.
Yeah.
And so then when you live a life that's actually full of like rich life that feels good and like gives goodness to other people around you, then people are going to want that more. They want to understand what responsibility actually means. Because to me, the reality of the victimhood mentality is like we relieve ourselves from responsibility.
Yeah, because I can be the victim.
Yeah.
It's easier.
Yeah, and then it becomes manipulative. Like it gives the choices to other people. Like I'm hurting, now I'm giving you the choice to actually make me feel good.
Right. Or you get to commiserate with me and make me feel bad. Because I meet some students and I really like to hear their stories, but I have to caution some of them to not let that story define who they are.
Yeah.
So in other words, some kids embrace it. Oh, my mom did this to me, and they always tell that story over and over and over again, and they relive the hurt, and they begin to grab the hurt and say, "Oh, look at me, I'm hurting because of what that person did. You should love me because I'm hurting. You should do this for me because I'm hurting."
Yeah.
And they don't realize the fact that they're only going downward spiral, not becoming who they want to be, because they're identifying as if they put a cape on, put a V on their chest, I'm the victim, and they want to get love and acceptance through that identity versus being, I'm overcoming this. I am not a victim.
Yeah.
And I hate to sound so cheesy, but I'm not a victim, but I'm victorious.
Yeah.
I want to be a victor, not a victim of my life. And I think it's more there's more power in that.
Yeah, and that's where I found a lot of hope, honestly. I found a lot more hope when I saw like I can overcome this hurt by choosing to be good, by choosing that goodness is actually inside of me, that choosing the responsibility of making good choices.
Now, you said this happened when you were a sophomore and came to school,
Yeah.
and you had all these thoughts. Let me ask you this question. You may not have the answer to this. Do you think a lot of students go through the same thing you were going through?
The shame?
The shame and just whatever, like the idea that all this is going on, and they're hiding it, and they could choose to do something different. Do you think what do you think about students your age? Were they going through that at a time?
At 15?
Yeah, 15.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think what's bad, and I don't know about the current generation, but when I was 15, what was bad with us is that we like collected people who were like us. And we basically allowed ourselves to be victims together. So like, and we ran away from it by having fun instead of like addressing it. But like we longed for it so badly, and we understood each other's stories, but we collectively ran away from responsibility. Honestly, we collectively, and by using our privilege, by using what other people had.
So they become manipulative based on their hurts to get what they wanted.
Yeah.
So they leverage their victimhood
right.
to get what they want.
And then we created this community together where we were all collectively just running away from our problems. But like we're still teenagers, we're still young. It's not like we want to go through those things and like address them. We didn't have anybody who was stepping in and saying like, hey, there's a better way. And like, that's just what it was. Right. We wanted to stay hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and you said, you didn't have anybody. And I think, and I want, as I go to schools, I want administrators and educators to know that, listen, I don't have the idea that when I come in, every kid's going to be changed forever. I don't think that, I come and do an assembly. I think sometimes they expect that. They expect when I come and do an assembly that from this day forward, all these kids start making choices. They wouldn't say that, but they're expecting, hey, but to me, one of my favorite quotes is never underestimate the power of a moment. Never underestimate the power of a moment.
So good.
So the moment that you heard me speak, you went to this assembly, that was a moment that led to other moments that changed your life. So you might say, hey, you changed my life, but like you also said, this was the bridge to other choices. But without that one, would you have got over the bridge?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
exactly. That's exactly why I always point back to you, because I wouldn't have believed in myself. I wouldn't believe that there was a better way. I was stuck in my shame. I was stuck in this pit of hurt, and I felt like everybody else had it figured out and I didn't. And that day when you spoke, I realized that I could become something. I could become something. Because before I thought like my becoming was over and this is just where I was at. And then the reality was like I still have choices. I was 15. And I could still make the next choice. I could still make the next thing happen for me. I was happening still. And that reality of happening, that reality that I was existing, and in that existing, I could become something. I had control of what I was becoming, gave me hope that there was something more for me. And like, it's that moment.
Right.
It was that moment. It created a snowball effect of responsibility, a snowball effect of believing in myself, a snowball effect of the next victory, and then seeing my failures as a success, like an opportunity instead of a failure.
And this makes me smile real big because again, doing what I do, I don't always see the end result. I don't see a lot of guys have a job. Let's say you work in construction. You work hard, you pour the cement, you build a building. You can drive down the street. Oh, we built that building. I helped for that cement. You can see the fruit of your labor.
Yeah.
I don't always get to see it. I get to go and do, and I believe that I'm planting seeds or watering seeds. Like teachers, educators are watering seeds, are planting seeds. I'm watering or planting seeds. Parents are watering, planting. We're in this agricultural analogy.
Yeah.
But I don't get to see sometimes the fruit.
Yeah.
And so hearing you tell these stories is a glimpse of some fruit that 12 years ago I spoke in the assembly and there's some fruit from it. And so I want to say thank you for, coming up to me at the coffee shop and stopping me and saying, hey, I remember this, because that means a lot to me, because sometimes I just don't see it. I don't hear it.
Yeah.
And it's great to hear that at least there's one, at least there's one out there who that was a moment that I probably underestimated. Like I underestimated the power of that moment, but that moment was a catalyst for your life change and bringing you where you are today. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Absolutely. And I am always thankful, especially like, I mean, I started following your YouTube videos. It like gives me life to see you, honestly, because it helps me remember the choices that I've made leading up to the person I am. And I am a person that I'm so thankful for. I am the person that I needed when I was 15 years old now.
That's good.
And that's all I really like. That's all I really wanted. I wanted somebody like me, and I get to be that person now.
And hopefully, as you begin to volunteer with us, you might actually be that for another 15-year-old kid one day. I mean, I don't, who knows what'll happen, and even if it's not on stage, and that's what I want to encourage people, everybody doesn't have to be on stage to impact a life. You don't have to be up front. It is how you live your life. And as you mentioned earlier, as you begin to give and share, your life breathes this difference and this energy to people that they see. So you don't have to be on stage to make a difference in a 15-year-old's life. And I think you're doing it now with the work you do. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah.
But I want to, again, thank you for being on the show. Thanks for having this conversation. And thank you for just stopping me, because that took a lot for you to say, hey, Mr. Brown, I got to tell you something.
I mean, that goes back to the boldness that you've created or helped create. Yeah.
Again, thanks for being on the show, man. Thanks. Appreciate it.